Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, we'll start off this hour with comedy. An episode, well, we got to head to Wistful Vista to do this. 79 to be precise, and see what's going on in the household of Fibber McGee and Molly as we deal with Salvador McGee, the artist.
I say, Bitterbrook, old rutabaga, what say we pop out this evening for a bit of dancing? Or maybe a cinema? There's plenty of petrol in the rolls.
Dash it, old girl, you know jolly well Tuesday's midnight with the wireless. I simply can't miss Amos and Andrew, you know, or that Hope laddie, or the Skelton chap, and the man and wife thing, what's the name again?
The Johnson Wax program with Fibber McGee and Molly.
Gadsa, that's it.
The makers of Johnson's Wax products for home and industry present Fibber McGee and Molly with Bill Thompson, Gail Gordon, Arthur Q. Bryan, B. Benaderet, and me, Harlow Wilcox. The script is by Don Quinn and Phil Leslie. The music by the King's Men and Billy Mills Orchestra. When a woman like Mrs. McGee, who is a good cook, marries into a family like the McGees, who are always hungry, they should have a revolving door on the guest room. The latest relative to be heard from is being discussed right now by Fibber McGee and Molly.
Imagine seeing old cousin Salvador again after all these years, Molly.
Yes, and him a famous artist.
Must have been 15 years since he was here last.
And if I remember correctly, he put away enough groceries at that time to last him 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know he's 5 years early?
Yes, sir. Well, a guy as hungry as him was bound to be either a poet or a painter. I hope he brings me some of his pictures with him. I'd like to buy a couple just as an investment.
You mean like if you'd have bought a few Rembrandts 300 years ago, you'd make a neat profit on them today, old man?
Well, anyway, I hope Cousin Salvador remembers how interested I was in his career. I always said he'd make good someday with his painting, didn't I?
Well, I don't remember you saying that, McGee, but I do know how you tried to help him along.
Certainly.
Every time he mentioned painting, you'd give him the brush.
Imagine our own cousin, a famous artist.
I hardly remember him, McGee. Did he look like an artist?
What do you mean, did he look like an artist?
Well, did he wear his hair long?
No. Only about 25 years, and then it all fell out.
I see. Did his telegram say what time he'd arrive?
No, but it'll probably be around dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me see. I think the light will be better if I move this easel over by the window, don't you think?
Why don't you wait and let Cousin Salvador put it where he wants it?
This is not for Cousin Salvador, my dear. I myself am indulging a bit in the creative urge. Salvador's telegram has aroused my artistic instincts.
Oh, what have I done to deserve this? And the smock and beret. Oh, McGee.
You know, baby, I got everything I need to become a famous modernistic artist. I'm practically colorblind, and I can't draw for sour apples.
You know, it's too bad Cousin Mervyn isn't coming, or you could paint some still life.
Hmm?
He had one of the biggest stills around Peoria.
I'm going to do impressionistic things, my dear. My first canvas, this one I'm working on now, will be entitled Retribution on Tuesday. It will show a well-done hamburger draped over an alarm clock with a human torso in the background tattooed with soft-shelled crabs and a green heifer wearing a paper hat. It will give an impression of the futility of life.
I'll bet it will at that. Mm-hmm. Now, look, Van Dyke, if you get paint all over my living room rug now.
Come in.
Oh, hello, Mr. Wimple.
Hello, folks.
Hi, Wimp. What's the umbrella for? Is it raining?
Oh, no, Mr. McGee.
No.
I was just taking it downtown to get it repaired. I thought maybe I could get it fixed while I went to the doctor.
Oh, are you ill, Mr. Wimple?
Oh, no, Mrs. McGee. The umbrella and I are in the same condition. We each have 2 broken ribs.
Your wife have something to do with this, Wimp?
Well, yes, in a roundabout way, Mr. McGee.
What do you mean in a roundabout way?
She chased me round about the house 7 times before she got close enough to hit me with the umbrella.
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Wimple, you certainly lead a strenuous life. Don't you ever fight back?
Oh, I did once, Mrs. McGee.
My gosh, you did? What happened, Wimp?
Well, I'm a little ashamed of myself for losing my temper like that, Mr. McGee, but one day Sweetie Face was particularly naughty to me, and I grabbed up a loaded shotgun.
Heavenly days.
And I just stood there and I said, Sweetie Face, I said, and I meant it, too. Sweetie Face, I said, you take one step toward me and I'll let you have it.
Yes, yes.
So she did.
Ooh.
She took one step toward me and I let her have it. I didn't want it anymore anyway.
You ought to get your wife to take up some quiet hobby, Mr. Wimple.
Like me, Wimp, I just took up painting. I'm working on a modernistic job now called Sunrise Over Your Father's Mustache. Or Tapioca Pudding in B flat.
Oh, that's very interesting, Mr. McGee. But I'm more interested in poetry myself.
Oh, have you written anything lately, Mr. Wimple?
Yes, I have, Mrs. McGee. It's called Oh, Pretty Little Easter Egg.
Well, let's hear it if you insist.
All righty. Oh, pretty little Easter egg, whose shell I cracked so very gladly. You look at me from in my hand and make me feel so very sadly. Of all the folks on this great earth, the one I judge the very worst is the one who died you, little egg, never thought to boil you first.
April 9th, 1946, Fibber McGee and Molly on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now, more of Fibber McGee and Molly, McGee the Artist, from April 9th, 1946.
I think this one here's the best painting I've done in my whole career, Molly.
And considering that your career just started about an hour ago and you've done 7, that's really something.
Yeah. I sure wish it'd get dark, though.
Why?
So we could see the northern lights. All artists have got to have a northern light to work by, you know.
No, that's just a north light theory.
It is? Well, I'm sure glad to hear that. Them northern lights flicker like anything.
What's the name of this current masterpiece you're working on?
This I'm calling 2 railroad tickets in love with a pile of lint. Notice how the blue tones modulate into this dirty gray color? Don't it give you a far-off feeling of emancipation and stupidity?
Yes, it does. As a matter of fact...
If that is one of the tradesmen, my dear, bid the fellow be off.
Coil up your lasso, Picasso, and get down off your high horse.
Okay.
Come in. Oh, hello, Dr. Gamble.
Hello, Molly. And what are you up to, underslung? What's that on your head, an ice bag?
That, my dear doctor, is a beret. You will forgive me, I trust, if I pursue my artistic endeavors while you and my good woman indulge in the local gossip. One must take advantage of the fleeting light, you know.
That's all. I can't take it this week. So long, Molly.
But, Doctor, you... Now you see what you did, McGee? You and your fancy talk. Another few hours of this and you won't have a friend left in town.
Well, Dad, right it, you gotta be rude to people if you want to be noticed. Who ever heard of a polite genius?
Well, for goodness sakes, you shouldn't...
My curiosity got the better of me, friends. Is it true that little Smudgepot here has gone in for painting?
Yes, it is, Doctor. He's going to burst into the art world with a noise like threading a needle underwater.
We have a house guest coming, Doctor. My cousin, Salvador McGee, the famous artist. You know of him, I suppose.
Frankly, deep seat, I've never heard of him. Is he a blood relative or anemic like you?
Well, according to his last letter, Doctor, his latest work is in the National Gallery in Washington.
Take a look at some of my work, Doctor.
All right. What's the name of this nauseating little item?
I call this little thing Tempest in a Piggy Bank. Or 7 razor blades in search of a girl's bicycle.
Very interesting.
Do you really think so, Doctor, or are you just saying that because you haven't got your glasses on?
You realize, of course, my dear doctor, that I'm not a mere painter of pictures. I paint emotionally. I depict the innermost thoughts of humanity, the primitive urges and the savagery of civilization.
You done a self-portrait yet, McGee? You really should do a self-portrait. I've always thought you should be done in oil.
Painted, Doctor?
No, boiled.
Well, for your information, you big sinus plumber, there's an artistic strain that runs clear through the McGee family.
Oh, and what a strain it is, too.
I don't expect any appreciation from an illiterate old oaf like you, Fatso, but believe me, I know talent.
You not only do, you have.
I have what?
No talent. So long, Molly.
I'm afraid the doctor has a low opinion of your efforts, McGee.
Well, what'd you expect? You ever notice that corny picture he's got in his office? It's a cowboy on a ratty-looking old horse holding a rusty rifle.
Why, darling, that is a genuine Remington.
That rifle?
No, the artist.
You mean little Benny Remington that runs the shoe-shine parlor down on Oak Street? Why, that guy couldn't paint...
Come in. Well, for goodness sakes, Mrs. Carstairs and Mr. Wilcox.
How do you do, Mrs. McGee?
Glad you dropped in, friends. My friends are always welcome in my studio. Do sit down.
Thank you.
We can chat while I work.
We just met Doc Gamble, pal. He said you had a bad case of painter's colic, so we thought we'd drop in and see how you were.
Oh, he was just being sarcastic, I guess, Mr. Wilcox.
That is rather a strange bit of work you have in hand there, Mr. McGee. May I ask what you call it?
Carsty, you have a true eye for the better things. This is a dream impression of unreality with tragic undertones of elementary depravity. And it doesn't hurt a bit. I call it ragamuffins at high noon. Or passion's plaything with outboard motor. I say, Wilcox, old fellow, hand me that tube of pink there, will you? That's a good chap.
Hey, this isn't paint. It's toothpaste.
I know. I'm just starting a new canvas called Delirium with Miriam Zirium.
Or, while there's hope, there's life.
You know, Mr. McGee, this is all very reminiscent of the time I spent in Paris in 1933. I saw several paintings very similar to yours.
Exhibition, was it, Millicent?
No. One afternoon in a painter's studio, some of the artists tried a little experiment. They backed a blindfolded mule up against an easel, tied a wet paintbrush to his tail, and let several horseflies out of a bottle. The picture won first prize that year.
There, McGee. And remember, that mule was blindfolded.
Yeah, that's all very well, but where can I get a bottle of horseflies at this time of year? Hey, what are you doing, Junior?
Pal, here's a painting that really appeals to me. Can I buy this?
Oh, my gosh, Junior, you don't want that old thing.
Name a price, will you? I have a place on my living room wall where this will be perfect.
Where are you living now, Mr. Wilcox? In a fracture ward?
That one is pretty badly wrinkled, Mr. Wilcox. Why don't you select one?
No, I want this one. I can just see it framed in a mahogany and gold frame. You know what I'll put on the frame?
I think I can make a pretty good...
Johnson's wax, naturally. Anybody who appreciates good things wants to see them get the best possible protection against dust and dirt and dampness.
Yeah, but that one you selected...
Johnson's wax is the standard household protector for picture frames, woodwork, floors, furniture, enameled surfaces, and leather goods.
Yeah, but what that
Because
got to
it seals surface pores against penetration of dust and dampness.
Yeah, but that thing you...
And gives a sparkle to your home. A sparkle that's like hospitality spelled out in rhinestones. How much, pal? Name your price.
Shall I leave while you gentlemen haggle?
Oh, no, don't go, Millicent. This is McGee's first sale, and he promised me whatever he got for it.
Gee whiz, Waxy, I don't want to see you do that.
Come on. $25.
No,
40, 50, 75.
Junior, I'm going to keep this friendly. I want you to have that painting, and for you, it's just $5.
Oh, no, I couldn't take advantage of
$5 or no sale, Buster.
Well, okay, here you are, and thanks ever so much. I want you to see it after I have it framed. By the way, what's the name of it?
Oh, I call that splitting an atom at Eve. Take good care of it.
Oh, I will, believe me. Can I drop you off at home, Mrs. Carstairs?
Oh, please do, Mr. Wilcox. I must get back and write Boris Karloff a letter.
Goodness sakes, Boris Karloff. Is he a friend of yours, Millicent?
No, I merely want to say, So you think you make horror pictures. Good day, my dear, and Mr. McGee.
So long, folks. Good day, friend.
I can't understand you, dear. You had a chance to get $100 for that painting.
Dad rat it, that wasn't a painting. That was the rag I've been wiping my brushes on. Hey, where are you going, Molly?
I'm going upstairs and get the guest room ready for Cousin Salvador.
Oh, fine.
Don't make any more mess than you will anyway.
Okay. There goes a good kid. I ain't fooling her any with this long hair stuff. She knows I'm just a Grant Wood with knotholes. But does she care? No, sir. Come in.
Hi, mister.
Oh, hi, Teeny.
Hi. Gee, what you doing in the apron and tam o' shanter, mister? What you doing,
Well, this is a smock and a beret, sis, and I'm painting pictures. Like this one here, you see? What do you think of it, sis?
Will you tell me a story, mister? Please, will you? Please?
You didn't answer my question, Teeny.
Well, my mommy says if you can't say something nice about people, don't say anything, mister.
Well, so you want a story, eh?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I ever tell you about Katie the kangaroo?
Oh, no.
Okay. Once upon a time...
Gee, I like stories that start out like that, mister. All the Mother Geese stories do.
Mother Goose, sis.
There's more than one of them, mister. Goose is singular, geese is plurality.
Okay, let it go. Well, sir, once upon a time, way down in Australia, there lived a little kangaroo named Katie. And for years and years, till she was big enough to hop around by herself, she traveled in her mama's vest pocket. Yes, sir. And one day, as she was sitting there on her front pouch...
Porch.
Pouch.
Oh.
Her mama said to her, Katie, she says, tomorrow you go to school.
Oh, boy, kindergarten,
Yep.
huh?
So Katie went to kindergarten, grade school, and high school. On her last year of school, she was made chairman of the senior hop.
Oh?
On account of she could hop farther than any other student, see? Thanks to Katie, it was the greatest senior hop they'd ever had. And they were all trying to leap around as high and as fast as she did. And everybody had a wonderful time. Jump, leap, hop, spring, leap, jump, hop. And that's how love came to Katie.
Gee, how, mister?
Well, sir, her boyfriend, Curtis Kangaroo, who had just been chosen as the boy most likely to be chosen as the boy most likely not to get any place, says, what are you looking at me like that for, Katie? And Katie says, I love you, Curtis. Let's get married. Okay, says Kurt, so they did. And all because that senior hop had reminded Katie of something. And you know what that was?
Sure I do, I bet you.
What?
It was leap year.
Oh, sure.
Thanks anyway, mister. So long.
Let me see. A little more tattletale gray in the background. Dash of taxicab yellow.
That's
here.
quite a painting you're working on there, McGee.
Oh, this is the best one yet. It's a fantasy of social insecurity as the forces of nature meet the challenge of television.
What's the significance of the mustache cup in the lower left there?
This? That ain't a mustache cup. That's an allegorical figure. That's Nincompoopiya, the goddess of heavyweight wrestling.
Ah, dear, I'm afraid I'll just never understand modernistic painting, dearie.
Anytime anybody does, all us artists will be looking for work. Now, let me see.
Come in. Oh, hello, Mayor Latrivia.
How do you do, Molly? Hello there, McGee. Oh, pardon me, madam. I thought you were Mr. McGee.
Don't let the smock and the beret fool you, Latrivia. I just wear these to keep the paint out of my eyes, clothes, and hair.
With little or no success, you might add.
Well, I didn't know you were an artist, McGee. Is this some of your work?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor. You like it?
No.
Now, that's because you don't understand modern art, Your Honor. And if you'll move over, I'll join you.
You're accustomed to old-fashioned art, Latrivia. Sunsets and stuff, kitchen calendars, 3 kittens in a basket, photographic. You got to learn to appreciate modern painting emotionally.
What brought on this burst of self-expression, McGee?
Well, his cousin Salvador McGee is coming today for a visit, Your Honor. He's a well-known painter back east. Made a lot of money at it, too.
Anytime you want him and me to do any mural painting at the City Hall, Latriv, just speak up.
You mean mural painting, McGee?
What'd I say?
You said Muriel.
That's a girl's name.
Why should you want us to paint her on the wall at the City Hall? Who is she, anyway?
Who is who?
Muriel, the girl you want McGee to paint on the wall.
I don't want anything of the kind. I didn't suggest any such thing.
Oh, don't be so cagey, boy. We won't hold you up. Wait till you see a rough sketch before you say yes or no. You got a snapshot of her with you?
Now, look, McGee.
Is she a blonde or brunette, Your Honor?
Reason she asked is I paint brunettes cheaper. Mixing the color for a blonde or a redhead.
I tell you, she is not a blonde-head. Of all time. This whole thing is your idea.
Mayor Latrivia getting pretty wound up there. April 9th, 1946, Fibber McGee and Molly on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these important messages from your favorite radio station. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Mike Lindell and MyPillow launching the MyPillow 2.0. Now, when Mike invented MyPillow, it had everything you could want in a pillow. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's discovered a new technology that makes MyPillow even better. Of course, the patented adjustable fill of the original MyPillow, but now with brand new fabric with a temperature-regulating thread, it's the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow you'll ever own. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over in the middle of the night. And more great news on the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer with my promo code Wyatt. MyPillow 2.0 is 100% made in the USA, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square to receive the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer. Use my promo code Wyatt or call 1-800-928-4715. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Fibber McGee and Molly from April 9th, 1946. As Mayor Latrivia was saying,
I don't even know anybody named Muriel, except an elderly aunt of mine. Is that clear?
Personally, I think it's mighty sweet of you to want your aunt's portrait in the City Hall, Mr. Mayor.
The way I'll do it, Latriv, is this. I'll make a preliminary sketch, you see. Then we'll find out where in the City Hall would be the best place to hang Muriel.
I tell you, I don't want any Muriel. A mural. If my aunt was... Look, anytime the city aunt, a mural hall, I mean the superior, paint a mill... You said that I wanted a Muriel. A picture pointed. Portrait pitched. Picture... You were the... It was... McGee?
Yes?
Tell me, how do you mix your paint?
That's an interesting question.
Depends on whether you mix it wet or dry, Latriv. If you mix it dry, you take a powder...
I certainly do. Good day.
Boy, oh boy, I sure wish he'd shown me that snapshot of Muriel before he left. I'd have painted her picture and give it to him for Christmas.
He's just shy, I guess.
Yeah.
And if she's his aunt, what's the matter?
You see anything in my palette?
You mean my breadboard that you were mixing all that paint on? You laid it on a chair when the mayor came in.
Which chair?
The one you're sitting in, I think.
That's what I think.
Well, aren't you going to get up?
There's no hurry now. I can't get any more paint.
Come in.
I do, is this McGee's residence?
Cousin Salvador. Hi, boy. Come on in.
Oh, my goodness. It's good to see you again, Cousin Salvador.
Well, thanks. Well, gee, who's doing all the painting?
Me, Salvi. How do you like 'em?
Well, don't ask me, Cousin Fibber. I wouldn't know.
Oh, go on with you. And you with all your paintings at the National Gallery in Washington that you wrote us about.
Well, not my paintings, Molly. My paintings.
Oh, just one, you mean?
Yep. Yeah. But it's the biggest job I ever did.
Yeah.
I did the whole interior in white, 2 coats of white enamel, trimmed all the windows in moss green. Why, next month I got another job doing a brewery, and they told me...
Oh, this is ridiculous.
You'll pardon me, I'm sure, if I paraphrase an old saying. Dirt may come and dirt may go, but a glow-coated floor goes on forever. Well, at least practically forever, if you use Johnson's Glow Coat regularly on your linoleum surfaces. Scrubbing linoleum is bad for it. You've heard me say that many times before. Linoleum manufacturers themselves and housekeeping authorities, too, recommend this kind of care that gives protection to the linoleum or other floor surface, adds wax-polished beauty, keeps colors fresh and new-looking. Johnson's Glow Coat is self-polishing, needs no rubbing or buffing. Therefore, you see, it saves two ways. Saves the linoleum, saves you time and work. And by the way, if you have floors of asphalt tile or rubber tile, remember that Glow Coat is the preferred polish for these floors, too.
McGee, Cousin Salvador wants to know if we want any painting done around here.
No.
He says he'll do a wonderful job. He says when he gets through with the house, you wouldn't recognize us.
Yeah, I know. He proved that at dinner with the porterhouse.
Well, yes.
You said it. Good night.
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox, speaking for the makers of Johnson's Wax Products for Home and Industry, inviting you to be with us again next Tuesday night. Good night. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
And just as a mention here, in case you didn't know, the S.C. Johnson and Company, Johnson's Wax, still in business to this day. Company owned by the Johnson family. H. Fisk Johnson is the chairman and CEO. Been there for almost 10 years. He's the fifth generation of the Johnson family to lead the company, one of the oldest family-owned businesses in the United States, going back to 1886. Samuel Curtis Johnson. There you go. There is still a chance in America today. That was from April 9th, 1946. Fibber McGee and Molly here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, looks like Johnny Dollar's going to the dogs. Part 1 of the 5-part The Laird Douglas of Heatherscote matter. This series of 5 programs, this first episode originally broadcast April 9th, 1956 here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
This is Harry Branson at Philadelphia Mutual Liability and Casualty Company.
Oh, hi, Harry. What's on your mind?
I have a case for you, a very important one.
Good. Tell me about it.
John, did you ever hear of Laird Douglas of Heatherscote?
Lord, who... Say that slowly, will you?
Laird Douglas of Heatherscote.
Sorry, I left my kilts and bagpipes on the other side of the drink.
Huh? Oh.
Yeah, feeling real sharp this morning. But what about this Laird Douglas something or other?
Can you come down here to Philadelphia and see me?
I hate to be so blunt about it, old boy, but what's in it for me?
A nice retainer fee in any event.
Well, good.
And, of course, expenses and your regular commission if anything happens to Laird Douglas.
Of Heatherscote.
Why, yes.
Okay, Harry, I'm on my way.
Oh, John.
Yeah?
Come down by plane, will you? The first one you can get.
Urgent, huh?
Yes, John. Very.
Tonight, and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Harry Branson at the Philadelphia Mutual Liability and Casualty Company, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Following is an accounting of expenditures incurred during my investigation of the Laird Douglas of Heatherscote matter, whoever Laird Douglas is, and whether investigation is the proper term at this point, who knows. In any event, well... Expense account item 1, $22.50, air transportation and miscellaneous, Hartford to New York to Philadelphia. For a change, I decided to stay at the Benjamin Franklin, not only because it was convenient to Harry Branson's office on Walnut Street, that is the office of Philly Mutual Liability and Casualty, but because I'd heard it was a nice hotel. It was. And it was convenient to everything else in the center of town. Theaters, good restaurants, nice stores, even a nightclub. Well, anyhow, when I got to my room, I found a half dozen urgent messages that Harry had called. Pretty good indication that his lordship, Douglas of, or at least this case, was pretty important. So instead of bothering to unpack, I had the bellboy dump my luggage, tipped him, and was standing there debating whether I'd better forego a quick shower and change of clothes when the phone rang. Johnny Dollar.
John, didn't you get my messages? Why haven't you called? I've been waiting to hear from you. What's wrong?
Hey, take it easy, Harry. I just this minute got in.
Oh, well, I hope you're coming right on over here to my office.
What's the matter? Something happened to this client of yours?
No, not yet.
But being you're expecting the worst, huh? And look, you still haven't told me a thing about this emergency or whatever you want to call it.
John, it is an emergency because of the time element. You see, why do we waste time on the phone?
Well, this was your call, not mine.
All right, I'm sorry. I'll be waiting for you.
And Harry, I'll be there. Still knowing nothing whatsoever about what was going on, I decided I'd better be prepared for anything. So I slipped a .38 Colt out of my bag and took it along. Expense account item 2, 65 cents, cab fare. I've said it before when I handled the Amerigo case for him. Harry Branson is a good insurance man, but a worrywart. So I kind of hoped he was making the usual mountain out of the usual molehill this time. However, when my cab pulled up in front of his office building, he was standing waiting on the sidewalk out front. Hey, I keep the change.
Thank you, sir.
John, what took you so long?
Huh?
Thank goodness you're here.
Harry, what are you doing out here? Lose your office or just forget the key?
I almost wish I had. John, we have a problem. A serious one.
Yeah, with Laird Douglas of,
Heatherscote. He's up in my office now.
Sounds like international intrigue. Has Scotland declared war on us or something?
This is no time for levity. He's up in the office now, and you must take over immediately. This is a very serious situation. Come.
Okay. Oh, now, what's it all about? Has Laird Douglas died and... Oh, no, you said he was up in your office. And I'm sure you don't mean just his body.
Yes, he's there, with Mrs. Peter Malcolm Kelly Van Pyton.
Kelly Van... Huh? Are you kidding?
I certainly am not. You see, she insists that you act as his bodyguard.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Harry.
Unfortunately, or rather fortunately for you... 13th floor, please.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, I said 13th floor, operator. Please, quickly.
Yes, sir.
So, Harry?
Young man, will you please start this elevator immediately?
Gotta wait for the signal, sir.
Signal? This is an emergency. Take off. Immediately.
Emergency?
Yes, it involves Laird Douglas of Heatherscote.
Oh, well, sure, if it's... Who?
Good man.
Okay. Now, you were saying, Harry...
Was I?
Unfortunately something.
Oh, yes, of course. Fortunately for you, she was quite cognizant of the fact...
Who was cognizant?
Mrs. Peter Malcolm Kelly Van Pyton. She knew about the excellent work you did for us in connection with the Ricardo Amerigo case not long ago. Excellent detective work, she called it.
13th floor.
You remember the case, Ricardo, the concert violinist who disappeared, presumably
Yeah,
murdered.
I remember.
And your almost intuitive deduction that he wasn't dead at all, but had merely staged the whole thing to make it look as the...
Harry...
oh, yes, of course.
13th floor.
You mean Mrs. Peter Malcolm Kelly Van...
Excuse me, mister, but I'm getting signals from the other floors.
Quite right, you should. As I started to say, John, she is one of our biggest personal policy holders.
Good. But hadn't we better get into your office and meet her?
Oh, yes, but I want you to know about the personal premiums. Alone, they run to something over $20,000 a year.
Mister, please.
Well, she is an important client.
Yes, and that's why I
Mister, will you
I didn't
please?
hesitate to accede to her request that you be called in on this case. I called you, and here you are.
Mister, please.
Oh, well, get us up to the... Oh, we're here. Why didn't you tell us? Come, John.
Mister, if I was to tell you what I'd like to,
My office is right this way, John. Come, please.
Hey, look, you better calm down, Harry, and give me the dope on this case right from the beginning.
Yes, I'd better. All right. Mrs. Peter Malcolm Kelly Van Pyton is a very important client, has been for years.
So you said. But there are a lot of things you haven't said, like, what has she got to do with this Laird Douglas character, and why is he so important?
It's this way, John. The policy on him runs to $5,000. No double indemnity, which is good. As a matter of fact, the policy on him was purely a favor to Mrs. Kelly Van Pyton. You know, considering such short life expectancy and all.
No, I don't know. Is he in his dotage or something?
Well, hardly. Or are you being facetious again?
But you said... Hey, how old is he?
His birthday is next month, May 7th to be exact. He'll be 4 years old.
4?
That's right.
Short life expectancy?
Of course. You see, John.
Wait a minute. Some horrible disease or something, huh? What's the matter with him?
John, you wanted this from the beginning, so I'll give it to you from the beginning.
Okay, but Harry,
if it hadn't been for Mrs. Van Pyton's own policies totaling something in the neighborhood of $500,000, more in fact,
Harry.
why, we'd never have written the one on Lord Douglas of Heatherscote. So, now we've cleared that up.
Harry, we passed your office 3 or 4 doors ago.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But as I'm sure you understand, I wanted to give you some of the background before you talk with Mrs. Van Pyten. After all, you asked for it.
Yes, I guess I did. But what you've given me so far has landed me smack dab in the department of utter confusion. And I'm beginning to think maybe I have company.
Oh? Where? Who?
Right here. You, Harry. Now look. Why don't we quietly stroll into your office and let me get the whole thing from Mrs. Kelly Van Pyten herself? Or better still, from Laird Douglas Douglas.
But you couldn't. Of course not.
What?
At least not from him.
Why not?
John, will you please stop joking?
Who's joking?
This is serious business, very.
Look, Harry.
Yes?
There is one thing I'd like to talk over before we go in to see him. Them, somebody.
Yes?
Well, apparently the life and or welfare of this Laird Douglas Douglas is in danger.
Oh, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. I thought I'd made that very clear to you.
Yeah, well, you said you've written only a $5,000 policy on him.
That's right, $5,000. And purely
Yeah, I know all about that. Now, look, I don't want to seem crass about it, Harry, but my commission, if anything were to happen to him, wouldn't amount to a hill of beans.
Which is precisely why I told you will be paid a retainer while you're on the case. A most generous one.
A generous one? By you?
By Mrs. Kelly Van Pyten.
How much?
Well, John, now mind you, this may not require your services for more than a week or so. As bodyguard, that is.
How much?
And, of course, she has authorized an expense account.
Ah.
But, mind you, John, not the usual kind that you seem to have the knack of piling up beyond all reason. Clearly, a completely honest, legitimate accounting...
Harry, how much?
Well, as a matter of cold fact, I have assured her that it will total no more than the amount of the retainer she is prepared to pay you. Any more than that, and, well, you'll have a lot of explaining to do.
Harry, how much is this retainer to be, if I take the case?
I might even go so far... $750 per week, or fraction thereof, and I am sure you will agree that... What's the matter, John?
$750 a week, plus expenses, when there's only a $5,000 policy involved?
That's right.
But if this 4-year-old Laird Douglas of
Heatherscote.
Yeah, if he's only worth a $5,000 policy... What was that crack about short life expectancy?
John, I told you he is already 4 years old.
Oh, look, start all over again, will you, Harry?
Yes. No, on second thought, perhaps you were right. Perhaps you'd better get the details directly from Mrs. Peter Malcolm Kelly Van Pyten.
I know. Now, look, Harry, I think I'd better get it from somebody.
Incidentally, John, you understand, of course, that your services will be required only during the affair at Ballakinwood. And not 1 minute thereafter.
No, I don't understand. What's Ballakinwood?
Out around Westchester, outside the city, one of the suburbs. Very nice suburb, too. That is where Laird Douglas...
Of Heatherscote.
Yes, John, that is where he will appear.
And you or Mrs. Kelly Van Pyten, or both, if you think his life will be in danger.
Exactly. Oh, John, I knew you were just joking me all the time.
I wish I knew.
Here we are, and everything will be clear to you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank heavens, dear Mr. Branson. I was afraid something had happened to you. You were gone so long, you really had me quite worried.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but I had hoped to tell Mr. Dollar something of this affair, and I'm afraid we loitered on the way up. Mrs. Kelly Van Pyten, this is Mr. John Dollar.
Oh, you wonderful, wonderful man. I'm so glad that you've agreed to take on this assignment. You see, Laird Douglas means everything to me. And I have the utmost confidence in you. I'm sure Laird Douglas will, too.
Well, thank you very much. But where is he?
Why, yes, Mrs. Van Pyten, what's happened to him?
Oh, don't worry, my dear. He's all right. But after all, he is so temperamental. I fear he got a bit impatient waiting for you, and I know you'll forgive him. You will, won't you?
Yes, of course, but where is he?
He's asleep, Mr. Branson, in your inner office. He sat down in your chair and fell fast asleep. Oh, if I could only relax that way. But you must meet him, Mr. Dollar.
Yes, I'd certainly like to.
Of course you would, and I know he'll want to meet you. Gently now. Oh, good, he's awake.
Oh, no. That's Laird...
Laird Douglas of Heatherscote. This is Mr. Johnny Dollar.
Hey! Holy John! Hey!
Douglas,
Harry!
no!
Somebody!
Let go of Mr. Dollar's leg. Douglas, dear. Douglas!
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's, intriguing Well, tomorrow's episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow? Well, I've handled some pretty doggy cases in my time, but never as a pooch's bodyguard. But suddenly this one begins to smell much too strongly of murder. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. It is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote tonight's story. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
Looks like Johnny Dollar's going to really have a dog day afternoon. From April 9th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And we want to thank Ted at RadioMemories.com for supplying us some of our shows. You can find information on Ted at RadioMemories.com. Cassette, CD, flash drive for your computer, very reasonable prices. RadioMemories.com. Also, thank this radio station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite radio station. We hope you will thank them. Please do that. And also, visit our webpage at classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. Stream our shows on demand. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links, a list of sites that have our shows for available via podcast. Of course, it's also available at YouTube, and you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money helps us acquire additional classic radio collections, and it also helps us maintain our distribution channels. That's at classicradio.stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.